As special paymaster for the US government's Troubled Asset Relief Program, in short, the bailout program of the financial sector, you set salaries for top executives at firms that were rescued by the federal government. Again, you were asked to make a calculation, this time based on the value of a corporate executive and his or her contributions to a company. Do you think that corporate salaries are out of sync with the value top executives add to their companies?
Certainly in the United States they are. And I'll bet you it's the same over here. I mean, in the United States, we have seen in the last 30 years a growing gap between what high-end corporate officials make and the rest of the company and the employees. And I think that gap continues to expand beyond acceptable limits. My role, very limited. Congress passed a law giving me authority to set corporate pay, but only for 175 people in 7 companies. It wasn't as if I had a real pervasive impact on this.
Do you think that process has impacted how companies deal with corporate compensation and bonuses, or is the system already kind of reset?
I think that my role is rather limited. I'd like to think that as a result of the financial meltdown in the United States, other initiatives, much more pervasive, the Dodd-Frank bill, the Federal Reserve's new policies, the SEC, Securities and Exchange Commission, the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, the G20. I think there have been other instruments and other institutions that have had more of an impact on corporate pay than anything I did.
Do CEOs deserve some of the public anger that's being directed their way, most recently during the Occupy Wall Street protests in New York?
Yeah, I think that the CEOs are the victims of a populist outrage at what's transpired over the last few years, a rather unique type of economic turndown in the history of the United States, certainly. And I think that CEOs and companies should expect more of this.
Is there a public policy response to deal with this issue of what's perceived as excessive compensation for executives?
Well, I think there is a public policy response. I played a very small role in that because I had a very limited jurisdiction. I think Congress has intervened. I think that the federal regulatory agencies, like the Federal Reserve, are taking much more of an interest in executive compensation. I think that capitalization requirements and the whole question of the Volcker rule and whether or not banks should be able to trade in the public sector or go back to the way it used to be where they're just banks and custodians. I think that there's a lot going on in the United States during the Obama administration and the end of the Bush administration. Whether or not it'll ultimately have an impact, I do not know. But I think what's going on in the United States now is an attempt to rectify the balance and have the regulations and the laws more available and more in sync with populist concerns that pay is out of control.